We're seeing ICP price sell off again, and so I wanted to talk about and answer the question, is it time to panic? Well, in my opinion, I don't actually think it's a time to panic at all because we really haven't seen anything too crazy change. And so I will dive in a lot more about what I mean by that, what I'm saying when I'm saying that, because I think from a fundamental perspective, nothing has really changed with ICP, and that's both a good thing and a bad thing. So we'll dive into kind of both why it's a good and a bad thing. But first off, we'll go in and we'll take a look at the price chart and discuss kind of the first piece of why nothing has changed and why that's a good and a bad thing. So first off, we can go ahead, we'll dive right in here, taking a look at the ICP chart. We can see we're still range bound. I mean, we're basically here between kind of the $4.50 range to about the $6.30 range. And we've been here basically since we popped back into it in the beginning of March and have not moved ever since. So, as I said, good thing and a bad thing. It's a good thing because we've finally found a floor. We're holding this floor pretty consistently, but it is also a bad thing because we have, particularly kind of in the May, June, July timeframe, we saw a pretty strong move up from altcoins, of which ICP was basically not a beneficiary of it at all. We saw it hit and get rejected multiple times up at kind of this like low to mid level like $6 range. So that's not necessarily the best news, and we're continuing to kind of see this kind of same type of trend work. We've come back down. It does look, at least at this point, like we have put in a higher low, so we haven't come all the way back down to like the mid 4 range like we have seen several times in the past. And we are starting to move back up again. Who knows exactly, whether this is the exact bottom. Maybe we continue to move lower. Maybe we go all the way up. Who knows for sure. But at least what we're seeing right now is we are continuing to be range bound. Now, again, a good thing because we are not finding further lows, but a bad thing because we also cannot break above this level. So, again, a double-edged sword there. Moving along, though, there's a couple of different things that we are seeing. Of course, in the very, very short term, we can see that Bitcoin dominance does also seem to be locked into this kind of range-bound trading. We'll have to see if that continues up. Now, again, this is just kind of within like the mid-July to like right now range. So it's only just barely started. Before that, it was kind of going up and we were seeing Bitcoin dominance rise and rise and rise. And then recently we saw it fall fairly dramatically. And we'll see that reflected somewhat similarly here on the crypto total to market cap. So this is everything excluding Bitcoin. We can see here really, really nice move up. We saw a bit of a retrace into this high liquidity zone, and now we're starting to bounce again from here. So things looking pretty good from that range. Again, comparing this to the ICP chart, where we started and where we're at right now is about the same. We saw a really, really strong drawdown here in kind of bottoming out around middle of April. And then we have seen a pretty nice bounce. If we go back and we look at ICP, strong drawdown, not really any nice bounce. It's really just kind of caught in this like range bound trading area that we are in. So we will need to continue to watch this very, very closely and see what happens here. We can see from the RSI there's plenty of room to run. We can see from the Bollinger Bands there's plenty of room to run. This is in the position where we could hopefully see another return back up to these mid 6 ranges and then continue to bounce from there. Again, we'll have to see for sure. We don't know exactly where price is going to go. But again, this is why I'm saying, I don't think it's necessarily time to panic. If you haven't sold ICP already, there's no reason to at this point. We haven't found any lower lows. We're actually seeing kind of very slightly, ever so slightly higher highs coming. And we're continuing to just kind of do what we have been for the past several months. So if you weren't scared then, you shouldn't be scared now. The only caveat there is we are seeing kind of, in my opinion, 2 fundamental things that are changing or that have come to pass that aren't necessarily like good things, right? So we've obviously seen Caffeine AI has been released. It has not come to wide or like mass market yet, which is why maybe that can be an excuse for the price not moving too much. But we have seen Caffeine AI come to pass, and we still have not been able to use that as kind of the key pivot point to get out of this range-bound trading. So again, that's another level that we have to be very, very careful of just to see how that ends up going, because at least I personally was looking at Caffeine AI to kind of be hopefully that pivot point that got us out of this range-bound level. Hasn't seemed to be that way so far, so we will have to see kind of what goes on here. Now, the other thing that I want to take a look at here is the cycle burn rate. If we look at the Internet Computer Dashboard, you can see that the cycle burn rate has been consistently declining since we saw the highs back here in like early January. This is not necessarily the best thing here, because of course the thing that we had previously was, regardless of what price did, good, bad, indifferent, we saw the cycle burn rate going up, and that was a good thing. Now we're seeing price continue to go down and kind of not really do anything, and from that we are seeing the cycle burn rate continue to go down and not really do anything. This, in my opinion, is very, very bad news, and we should hope to see this change here shortly, because if it doesn't, then we're kind of back in the same situation that we were in before. Again, the lows still being much higher than the highs even ever were, kind of prior to this the blockchain on blockchain release. From my understanding, that was kind of the majority of the cycles being burnt here was from that Bob project, not really much utilization otherwise. So we will have to kind of keep a very close eye to see what happens here, because prior, again, as I had mentioned, we saw price not really doing anything, but the fundamentals were definitely going in the direction that we wanted, which was up and to the right. That's not the case anymore. And so we need to be very, very careful to make sure that what we are seeing is actually good news and not necessarily just, continuing to bleed away while price continues to do nothing. That, of course, paints a completely different picture than the fundamentals continuing to get stronger while price does nothing. So be very, very careful when we are kind of looking and referring toward that. Now, we can see here there's a recent update from Dominic at Definity, and we can see here, kind of essentially bull posting Caffeine AI. That everything is all about Caffeine AI right now, and I feel like that's fairly legitimate. I think they have a lot to be bullish about when it comes to Caffeine AI. I think they've got a lot still remaining to be seen in terms of activations from the market and their core audience, all that type of stuff. Obviously, getting it out to real people and the mass market would be ideal. I understand they're trying to do it in a phased approach to make sure that it works for everybody. I think that's a good idea. But until we see it get out to the mass market, I don't know that we technically really understand what the full implications of Caffeine AI are going to be. And so until then, I think seeing some more of the range trading that we've seen potentially bleeding off kind of relative to alts, because if you look and we see that, alts have made a jump since April and ICP is not, obviously ICP is going to be getting weaker compared to the rest of the alt market on average. So that is something that we will need to keep a close eye on. However, it does look very, very clear that we can see we are still just caught in this range bound trading, which does indicate to me that if we do break out either to the up or the downside, we very likely will see a pretty strong move one direction or the other, because we are seeing a bunch of, whether this is accumulation or distribution, who knows, but when it does break, we should see some fairly strong moves. So if you are interested in loading up on your ICP bags, whether perps or spot or whatever, you can use my link in the description below to BTCC. BTCC is offering a 10% bonus on first time deposits. You guys know the drill, as well as up to $10,055 in deposit and volume bonuses. So if you are interested, you can feel free to do that. It is a really, really good deal. If you are familiar with trading, you'll understand what kind of a deal this is. So if you are interested, feel free to use the link in the description below. But until then, it's just more of a wait and see. Frankly, until we break out of this range bound trading one direction or the other, I think it's just going to be a kind of a wait and see type of situation for ICP. Right now, my initial kind of immediate plans, I still have kind of my long-term ICP bag. I'm essentially moving into just trading the range until we see a break and a retest one direction or the other. Then we'll know, kind of what direction we could see ICP moving in. But right now, sell the bottom of or buy the bottom of the range, sell the top of the range is kind of how I'm seeing it. It seems to be a fairly decent play that's kind of working out so far. So if you are interested, of course, you can do that following BloFin or BTCC. Both of them are links I have in the description below, and they both allow trading of ICP if you are interested in trading that. Until then, we'll just keep watching Caffeine AI very, very closely, making sure that it is something that people are continuing to find valuable. It's activating the audience, it's activating new users. All of this type of stuff is, of course, very important. And then, of course, keeping up with the macro environment. ICP really doesn't have anything to do with this directly, but it does very much impact ICP. So we need to, of course, keep a very close eye on that as well. So again, hopefully you found the information in this video useful. If you did, of course, you can like and subscribe. You can also hit that notification bell so you are notified every time I do make another video. I usually try to stay to the daily uploads. I have been a little sick recently, so I've missed a couple of days. You may be able to hear it in my voice a little bit, but yeah, just trying to get back to it and stay on the routine. I also did break 10,000 subscribers over the weekend, so I'm very, very grateful for that. All of you who've done your part in kind of helping me get here has been super, super helpful, and I'm massively grateful for all of you. So thank you so much for all of the, the time you spend watching me and the interactions within the comments and all of that type of stuff. I really do appreciate all of your feedback. So anyway, thank you all for tuning in, and we'll see you in the next one.